Hello, this is Mahlena. That's me. Oh, I'm Mahlena Ray Johnson with Write Your First Book with Mahlena. And for those of you who don't know me, I will introduce myself because I'm supposed to be doing that every time. I am Mahlena Ray Johnson, and I am a 3-time author, and I'm working on my 4th book, Love It a Luau. And what else am I supposed to say about myself? Oh yeah, I went to film school at Loyola Marymount University, and I went to business school at University of Southern California, where I studied marketing, entertainment, and entrepreneurship. So this video is called If You Can't See It, You Can Write It Yourself Eventually, i.e. Why I Still Own Ender's Game, the book, not the disappointing movie. So I will wrap the story up very succinctly in that. Let's start with the bottom part first, Ender's Game. I Still Own Ender's Game, which is a book written by Orson Scott Card, who is a crazy bigot. And I did not know this when I was first introduced to the book at Loyola Marymount. This is when Harry Potter had just come out in movie form, and there was someone in my class, one of my film classes, who said, Harry Potter's just like Ender's Game. And I was like, I guess I'll read Ender's Game then. And then I read Ender's Game, and I was like, this is nothing like Harry Potter. Like, I get that, yes, it's an essentially orphan boy, although he has 2 parents and 2 siblings. And he's American, not English. He goes to space, not to Hogwarts, and he's supposed to save the world from an actual invading thing, not just save the magical world from Voldemort. And the villain is not just one person, it's a whole planet of aliens. So it's a really different concept than Harry Potter. I mean, it does involve 2 boys who are white and male and cisgendered and come from 2 heterosexual parents, but it's like, I mean, it'd be like saying if someone said, well, the story of Harriet Tubman is the same as the story of Rosa Parks. It's the same story. Like, no, it's really not. So anyway, the point is that I read Ender's Game, really identified with it because it's about a troubled genius who no one gets him. I mean, I didn't get into the scrapes that he got with the abuse from other children, like physical abuse from other children. Wow, that was crazy. that was crazy that it happened. It happened so violently, and what was done to keep him going. But I did experience the same sort of isolation of, I know all this stuff and not everybody gets me. And then there was also a point where I started to think, am I on the spectrum of Asperger's? Like, maybe he is. And then I read Ender's Shadow, which is a parallel novel to the book. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so much more like Bean, because Ender has these really violent tendencies that I understand where they come from. But Bean was a little more laid back and really more intuitive, and he wasn't as popular as Ender, which I was definitely like, yeah, that was not as popular as Ender. No one wanted to follow me anywhere. But Bean was like, he didn't know what was happening to him, and he didn't know why this was happening. And he finds out that he's a genetic mutant. He was actually created in this laboratory, actually, which I wasn't, but what is the other thing that happens to Bean? Bean also has a sibling, I think either a full sibling or a half sibling who he finds at school, so I was really intrigued by that. The problem with these books, and also this book, First Meetings in Ender's Universe, which I also like, is that the person who wrote them is completely nuts. He is a crazy bigot. He doesn't think that gay people should be allowed any rights at all. He doesn't think that they should live. He thinks that somehow in the United States that he thinks that we're going to become under the same one-child law that China had for no reason whatsoever. But he thinks that people are out to stop you from having more children. I'm like, I don't know how it applies to him and why it would apply to him, and it was just the thing, though. It's not just that he's a bigot, he's also crazy and is just persecuted in his own mind. So why do I keep the books around? The reason I keep the books around is that I can't see it, and I'm trying to write it myself. I don't have a lot of books about smart children who are feeling ostracized and eventually make friends and figure out how to navigate their lives as little geniuses, which would have been great when I was younger if I had books like that. I did have the Babysitters Club, but none of the people, all of the qualities of each of the babysitters was more like, it was about teamwork and babysitting children, which I thought was great. But the only super smart character they had was Janine, who was Claudia's sister, and she didn't have her own book. So it's like, I guess, and then I read Ender's Game, I read Ender's Shadow, I read the story that they were based on, and I was like, yes, this is very much me. Problem, the author is a complete nut job who, I don't know what has happened to him. I guess he's still alive. And I made my friends go see the movie with me on one of my birthdays and felt guilty about that. Mostly because I didn't really want to support, but the movie had already come out and the money wasn't going to him, it was going to the studio, it was the whole thing. But also the movie was bad. It was not well done. So what I'm trying to say is that I wish that there were more stories about little children geniuses, especially girls. That would be great if there were stories about girl geniuses. It'd be great if there were stories about little girls of every color who are geniuses, because they exist all over the world and they exist all over this country, which I'm in, the United States. And I want to see them. I'm trying to get to a point where I can write the story that I am trying to write about little geniuses in boarding school. There's lots of specific details about it, but essentially it follows 4 girls from the age of 10 to, I guess, when they graduate from school, their journey through this system that is created for them. And it is related to Levita Luau because it takes place on the same imaginary island of Halekupua. And it starts, they're all foster kids who will probably be abandoned by the system by the time they reach 18. So they're taken to this school on this island and nurtured and cared for and educated and made to feel like they're okay, but then they have guilt about it because they got to be in this lovely place just because they're super smart, not because they're better than anybody else. So I'm trying to write that book. It's called The Best of Everything, ... But I don't have time to write it. I can't write everything that I want to see. So I encourage you all, if you have ideas, I want to read them. I want to see them. And I know there are other people out there who want to have their stories out there. They just, oh, that went out. They just can't do it all themselves. So if you think that you have a story in you that's important to be told and that would help someone else, I know that there's someone else out there who wants to read it. If someone else wants to write a book about little girl geniuses and what they do and getting them into adventures, I would love to hear your idea and read that book. So I'm encouraging you all to write that story that's inside of you, whether it's about little girl geniuses or medium girl geniuses or big girl geniuses or adult lady geniuses, whatever it is, even if it's about fire hydrants and dogs. If you want to write that story, I know there's probably a fire hydrant person or a dog person out there who wants to read it. Again, please email me with all your comments, questions, and ideas at writeyyourfirstbookWithMahlena@gmail.com. And there are more links that you can click in the description of this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.